Oh, the kids are. No, it's really not. I came to the first, you know,
The Bear Wise.
yeah, the girl that came from the,
Yeah.
And was there any? Make sure we're all on the same page this time.
Well, we passed the ordinance last week, passed all new ordinances, and what we did was sort of explain that. We're gonna try to put up
I do, I know, I love
a lot of the content of last night into the, if they let us, into the Cottagers newsletter.
it. Okay.
But we've got new rules on prohibiting feeding bears and what you gotta do with your trash. We're gonna start finding
Well,
people.
think about it, but anyway,
Trash out the way they should.
I just happened to be
And
talking to her this morning.
We're also opening up
And they're probably leaving
this
on
convenience center right next door, 24/7.
Halloween, which.
To anybody and
Monday the
everybody. You don't
31st.
have to
They're
pay.
probably leaving Sunday. or Monday.
All you have to be is a resident.
Yeah. They closed it Friday's reason. No, we don't. And it was so problematic. It was so problematic. Because I would stay with the kids and wink with people. Especially it was residents. Just.
That's right. So we can't really enforce the rules if we
Yeah.
don't. make it
That's-
possible.
Nobody's blessing.
You only pick up trash once a week. If people leave all days. Okay. Hello, everybody. Talk to me about the temperature. I don't have my winter clothes upstairs yet in the closet. Good gosh. I welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. We don't have a full house here on the committee for various reasons. We've got a couple of people out of town. I don't know where Tom Frist is, but in any event, we're going to move forward. We've got all the people that really count here, so we'll we'll start things out by just taking a moment of silence and reflecting on our job. Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Also.
Okay.
Second.
Any opposed? All right, adopted unanimously. We sent out copies of the minutes of the prior meeting, which Angie had prepared. Any changes or suggestions regarding the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve them? Okay, second. Shannon, come on, get in there. Second from
I
Shannon.
wasn't here.
Oh, you weren't. All right, then.
Second.
Then, okay. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, approved unanimously. All right, old business. Status of the repairs and beautification work on the existing bridge. Barry, you want to, it looks just terrific. And we're so grateful, but why don't you brief the committee on all the terrific work y'all have done?
Well, we've of course got the handrails done and the landscaping done around it. I'm in the process right now of preparing the paperwork and applying for the permit, hopefully by the end of the week, to begin the repairs to the abutment. And we're gonna make the repairs. Alex had Mattern and Craig draw up plans and stamp them, so we're gonna follow Mattern and Craig's plans. And that's recommended by the engineer that I use on all of our other stuff, is to go ahead and follow the existing plans for that. That's about where I'm at.
Okay, but a question on, that's with respect to repairing the head walls, not with respect to necessarily following their plans on reducing the width. of the
Correct.
bridge.
That's just repairing the head walls. If we get into narrowing the bridge, we're gonna get into pretty much beyond our scope of what we have the abilities to do.
Okay. Okay. All right, any other questions? There.
Been living with those plans for a long time. Is there any reason that we should make it narrower?
Not that I see, no, man.
The only reason would be a cost reason. if that somehow, and we'll start the discussion, there'll be some cost impact of building if, you know, and what we decided at the last meeting, Shannon, you weren't here, but you know, you know, we're open to looking at alternatives, but I think that from, at least from this committee standpoint, there's still a strong feeling that we'd like to do a covered bridge. Again, rustic, not necessarily, and well-designed, with a rustic and not necessarily super expensive, but we believe a covered bridge is helpful for a number of reasons, the community as a whole. And so to the extent it will have some impact on the cost because you'll have more area. I don't know from an engineering perspective, whether it's that much more expensive in terms of the support post, whether they have to be all that much bigger, and what that cost is. We'll find that out in the process, but that's really the only effect. And it will give us more options to do a few things on the inside of the bridge in terms of seating or planters or things like that.
Yes, sir. It will be.
And we also talked about if it was larger, there's more area for people, especially if it was covered. Maybe they could, let's say there was an outside meeting, maybe they could be in there.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very, very much. And thank you and your crew for the great work. I mean, it's amazing how great.
It's a miracle.
You know, it was really special to have it the way it was on July the 4th. That was an effort on your part, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a goal that we had, was to have it ready for everybody when they came in.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think it really helped the community to get excited because of the timing of that. Thank you again.
Next item is the status of grants. Been anything new on the grants? Nothing further than what
Mr. Chairman, nothing further than what was reported at the last meeting. As you are aware of, the LAP grant was approved. However, the funding will not be until October of 2026 at the earliest. And also there is the ARPA grant that has been filed with Buncombe County for consideration by their Board of Commissioners in late January, early February of 2023.
Let me ask you, particularly with respect to the ARPA funds, what flexibility do we have with respect to how those funds are spent?
Well, that comes, since it's coming through Buncombe County's accounting purposes, it's up to them with them. But when we filed the application for the grant monies, we researched what other projects had been funded through their first round. And we looked at recreational outdoor activities, and we felt like we met that same criteria. So that's why we submitted during the second round of applications. I would also note, Mr. Mason, if Mr. Blake, if it's not on the agenda, and I apologize, I don't have it with me at this point, the Board of Commissioners has funded monies for the Texas Road Bridge for pedestrian use in this existing budget year.
Right. We've got, I believe, 100,000 or
110, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I read.
So, thank you. Yes, we've got that money. But again, if we can get somebody else's money, that would be
Always nice to add to the pot. Yes, sir.
okay. Thank you. Is there any other old business that we need to discuss? If not, we'll move into new business. And Barry, you've got a contractor that you've been working with, and we've corresponded about some questions that the committee might have for the contractor. And we want to go ahead and introduce him, and we'll.
Yes, sir. We've been talking along, seeing the pictures and the drawings that y'all have presented. I've been talking with Mr. Bradley here, Alan Bradley, about some of the things. He may be able to answer some questions you have, or maybe even give some directive and some ideas into the covered bridge part. So
Great.
here he is.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks
We
for
really
having me.
appreciate you being here. I sent off some questions to Barry that I thought members of the committee might be interested. And the first one is the way this bridge is conceptualized. It was explained to us back by the engineers Matter and Craig 4 years ago, is that in effect the roof and its supports would be constructed independent of the bridge itself and its supports. Is that from a hands-on practical perspective as a contractor, is all that doable?
Yes, that's very doable.
Okay. How would you be anchoring the post of the bridge?
The post for the roof structure will go back on the creek bank. We would clear the creek bank by roughly 3 or 4 feet, probably a 2x2 concrete footing is what would be put in with steel. And then that would be anchored with a steel Simpson base,
Okay.
and that would hold the posts. And then, of course, you just span the distance with LVLs. So
Okay.
there would be, it would clear the creek bank, and then you could cantilever out to gain more room on the creek bank if you wanted to. So you've got your post, it's 2 feet off of the end of the bridge. If you wanted to cantilever out another 4 feet past that, it would be possible.
Okay.
Explain what you mean by cantilever.
Cantilever, so if we've got the post standing here and we have 30 feet on the left side of the post, we can bring out 4 feet on this side of the post without having to support it. It's cantilever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 4 feet on each side.
4 feet on each end of the bridge, yes.
Let me ask a question that was asked just a little bit earlier. How much the Mattern and Craig engineering plans had us narrowing that bridge basically by 8 feet, almost.
20 feet down to 12 feet.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's, as you heard, we're discussing ditching
Right.
and I just ballpark. Are we talking about a great deal more money to span,
I don't believe that it would, the cost of narrowing the bridge would outweigh the cost of building a wider roof.
okay,
It's the best way to know to put that.
okay. Let me just make it a note. Now, in order to, from a contractor's perspective and obviously you're going to need plans to build this bridge, right? We're going to need to get engineering architectural plans to
Yes.
build the bridge. So, you can't really give us any cost estimate until you see plans.
Based off of the measurements and just kind of going with sort of my perception of the design for it, I've worked up very loose estimates, which I'll show it to him. This here, I was thinking timber frame, Barry had mentioned.
That makes sense to see the.
Let's start here.
Okay.
And that's kind of a fancy design that would be spaced, depending on what an engineer says, between 6 to 8 feet on center. And then you would have purlins, which would be, say, 6 by 4 by 6s that runs between them, and tongue and groove running vertically to the center of the roof. And if a person was to go with a bridge like that and it was 36 to 38 feet long all together and 18 feet wide to cover the bridge completely, a rough estimate including the design and engineering of it would be between $2 and $210,000 with the fancier details on the timber frame.
All right. Okay, what sort of, from a contractor standpoint, what sort of materials would you recommend?
If you went with, like I say, the timber frame design, it would be white pine timbers. Of course, LVLs or laminated beams would be your weight bearing on each side of the bridge. And then pressure treated posts. As long as the engineer would spec the LVLs, it is possible that with that span, given experience, I don't believe they would require it, but there is a possibility they may want to use steel instead of the LVL.
That seems to shorten up span.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are there existing styles available to engineering companies that would be more economical for us to use as opposed to a custom design? In the timber frame family.
In the timber frame family, there is, you could go with a lot simpler style girt or truss, which that in effect is. And I also kind of looked at it from that standpoint. I do not have a drawing, but it's basically, you still have, that's on a 10 and 12 pitch. So if you went with say an 8 and 12 pitch, and it was basically a triangle, with one upright in the center, 2 angle braces, that could reduce the cost to between 190 and 200,000. It's very time consuming whenever you go to Knoxville.
What, treated lumber?
No, it would still be out of the white pine. That picture there, I should have added some notes to it, but say the member running up the rake, which is the angle there, that would be probably a 6x8 to a 6x10 white pine beam, depending on what the engineer decides is okay.
Then with the steeper pitch of the prefab, would that be, we don't get that much snow, but would that be, would it end up in, if we had some heavy snows, would it withstand that better? The steeper pitch?
I'm not going to say that it would stand it better because in this part of North Carolina, the minimum is a 3 and 12. So it's a fairly shallow roof. But aesthetically speaking, especially whenever you're trying to show the timbers, a little steeper roof is a lot better looking. And the other one would still be a custom built girt. It's just that it would be a less designed or a less labor intensive to produce.
Right. And the estimate, and again, we understand they're very rough estimates, are including the architecture and engineering.
That would
design engineering.
That would include designing it and getting it engineered. Yes. It would, and that would be using an architectural shingle on it as well. So
That's what you recommend.
that's what I recommend. I prefer shingles to metal.
Would that be wood shingles or
It would be asphalt shingles.
asphalt? Okay.
Yeah, I did not run a kind of estimate on using cedar shakes because then you really do get into very expensive and
They
They
just
leak.
have so many nice looking asphalt
they do.
now.
Mhm.
They didn't used to.
Cedar shake is probably not the best thing to use in this climate anyway, right?
It's not.
I mean,
You
they look
can
ugly.
use them, but you have to put a very waterproof membrane under them because they do leak. Yeah.
That's good information.
You've been very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your interest,
Oh, not a problem.
all your background.
All right, well, thank you again very much, and Barry, thank you for making it possible for him to be here, share this wisdom with us. I think that's really gives us an idea of particularly the total cost gives us something we realize, well, we can start putting numbers and maybe looking at when we'll have those numbers together and can initiate design and engineering.
Yeah.
So that 200 give or take, is totally completed with benches and the roof and labor and the design. and
That's it, yeah. I mean, well, I think what would be added to that is anything we wanted to do outside. So you're probably gonna have to add something to that. In terms of benches and other things. So that's,
It's never gonna come in on target.
well, no, but first, we got $100,000, not over 100,000 allocated right now. And we've got and the worst case, we could spend that money on design, we can't, but the town council could. And then we could wait until January, February, but we've got additional money that we hope will be coming from through the county, from the federal government through the county. And that grant application was like 191,000. Yeah, almost. So so
Significant.
we'd have 300,000, which is the cost he mentioned, plus plenty of other money to do the other things that we.
But we're already spending the 100 on what we're doing now, but it's not.
No, 30 or 40.
Okay. Because
You-
that's not.
Barry, what's your estimate? I read 30 in the minutes, but it might be more than that. Okay.
It is.
Well, I think the timing of finding out about this grant money is very good for the committee because we already know we have some in the budget. And if we don't qualify for that, it gives us some time to fundraise and
Yeah.
figure out and move forward before the spring on plans anyway.
What's the feeling of the committee? I mean, it seems to me we probably are getting close to where if we we may want to take a look at least getting a request for proposals on design and engineering. Do you think that's appropriate at this point? Very. Yes. Right. That would move us down the road some. I don't know whether the commission would need to approve that, or whether or not. I can ask. Then I don't know if you know or not, but we can get that if need be, we can get that on the commission agenda for next month.
Well, I mean, we could put out RFPs for the covered bridge. I mean, that doesn't cost us nothing. I mean, we could put that out without any guidance, and if it's under 30,000 is a trigger for, yeah, if it's under $30,000, that triggers the commissioner's approval. If we stay under that, we can, move on with it, of course. So, but yes, we could put out an RFP for the design and engineering. If that's the way y'all would like to go.
It's the committees.
I mean, seems to me that that would be okay. I mean, I don't see any reason to delay it. If it, if it works for, I mean, even if it's over 30, then we just wait for approval and it may not even, we might not even get that back before the next meeting anyway.
Well, we wouldn't spend the money. We would just be getting the RFPs back. We would move forward with.
Right.
things.
This would just be
Just,
to pick an engineering firm to do your design and stuff. That would all it be up. And that would be, I could put it out on the RFP as soon as Thursday. Give them time to send us their qualifications. And then, I could forward everything to Mr. Mason there and he could, let y'all decide which engineering firm or who you wanted to talk to from there. And then that's where you would actually discuss your money amount for your design and engineering.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
I believe that's a good way to start. I think it shows that we're still in process. We started the process this summer and you'll be working on it now and then further. So it looks like we're moving and it sort of gives a build up to get it done.
Okay, well, I can put out an RFP and give them 4 weeks to respond. Give them a deadline and then we can see what happens there. I mean, worst we do is like we got on the last one, just get one response. So, I mean,
Are we assured of that 190,000? Or is that just what we're hoping for?
No, we are assured of, we have 106 budgeted. The town's already spent part of that money and they'll spend more. We don't know what that number is, but we will have a significant amount of money from the town budget. And, the hope is that we will, in addition to that, receive these additional funds from the county. If not, we have another grant that comes much later, but, we can just keep coming back every month and talking, or we can do something. I guess my inclination is to do something. And I think this is the appropriate time to get an RFP out because, we're going to be getting into Christmas, but this will give us a chance to take a look at the RFP, decide if, and we'll know January, February, and if commission and everybody's set, we can have the plans and stuff underway. And if we don't get the money, we can wait until we get, figure out whether we want to wait until we know whether we've got the money or not before we move forward with the plans. But at least we'll have it all in place.
Mr. Blake, if I could add to your comments, I think you're on the right track when you say that we could be spending some of this money that's already been allocated or budgeted in this fiscal year. Once this work's completed, it's not going to be completed overnight. So it's going to be several months. At that point in time, you're looking at the next fiscal year budget where you could budget additional monies for the July 1 budget. So, we could have a bridge theoretically by, depending on construction calendars, by late summer, early fall, this time next year.
Very important. Very important. Okay, is the committee agreed then?
yes, sir.
To ask Barry to move forward with an RFP from several firms for design and engineering on the bridge.
I'll get an RFP out this week before I go out of town. And, Mr. Bradley was saying he had thought of a timeline. If you'd like to hear something.
Yes,
That'll
I'd
give you
love
something there.
love to hear that.
All right. Well, from the time you've got a design that you want to go with, you can figure roughly 12 weeks on sourcing the material. And a lot of this, yet again, would go if you went with a timber frame design, but it would be sourcing and then fabricating the timber frame would take about 12 weeks. And then from the time the material is on site, you should be looking at 4 to 6 weeks to have construction completed. And as far as the RFP for a design firm, you may want to look at doing a design build. The engineering and design costs tend to run a little cheaper if you go with the design build firm.
what sort of specs will we have to give up? I guess my question is, what sort of specifications do we have to put up front on a design build RFP? Or could we, I mean, I guess I don't want to turn design loose on we've got a limited number of people here today. I don't want to be saying we want to go for a design of the 18-foot wide versus 12-foot wide bridge. I don't want to be making those decisions today. I want to leave those options open, but I'd like to get qualifications and start the work on getting an RFP giving us that leeway. Can we do that with a design build as well?
When you put out your RFP and you go to discussing, and you can discuss, if we get 6 different engineering firms, you can actually discuss with them your design build options, because they'll all do that. And it may take you a couple of more meetings or something like that to get your ideas into their head or whatever you need to do there. It's, you can do it that way with the RFP, but right now we'll just get their experience and their qualifications to you for you to decide who you want, and then you can discuss that with them if you'd like.
Okay. All right. Well, is that okay to proceed in that fashion, everybody? Okay. All right. Anything else to come before us today? Any public comment? Any announcements? All right, the next meeting date probably ought to be after Thanksgiving. I've got a new phone. I can't look it. Here we go. There's November. Thanksgiving is the 24th. What does everybody think about the 30th of November? That's a Wednesday. 6 weeks from now.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. All right, how about the 29th or the 1st? I think either of those is gonna be fine with me.
Me too.
Let's make it for the 1st of December.
Okay.
At 2 o'clock. Here.
December.
Yeah.
So you're saying December?
Yeah. Is that okay with you, Barry and Ben? Okay. Well, again, Alan, thank you very much for being here and all your wisdom and advice, and that's really extremely helpful for us. And that drawing is,
Can we keep your drawing?
yeah, and make a copy of it to include in the RFP.
Yeah, thanks to all 3 of you. It helps to have some passion and support to accomplish something that's been taking a really long time.
All right, there's no further comments. I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much.